back to the Metro on 101.9 WDET. I'm Kerry Jr. II, and we're on Mackinac Island at the Mackinac Policy Conference. Gretchen Whitmer is about to enter the home stretch of her time as governor, and people are already lining up to replace her, despite there still being nearly 2 years left in her term. Lansing looks a lot like her first term in office. After 2 years of total control by Democrats, it's back to being split. At the policy conference on Mackinac Island, Whitmer tells Detroit Public Radio's Russ McNamara about her plans to bring a semiconductor plant to Michigan before the end of her term.
Michigan's got some incredible strengths, from our people to our manufacturing know-how to water and land, and so we are primed for a chip fabrication facility. This is something we've been working on. I think that we've got an opportunity, and that's my next thing on the list for one of the many reasons I've been going to Washington, D.C. so much. So we need a little federal partnership to get it over the finish line, but I'm excited, and I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it. I think with so many pressures right now in our economy around tariffs and all the chaos, diversifying our economy and landing a chip fab, a plant, it's so important to all the things that we as Americans rely on and want to do in the future, and this is something that I think would be a huge win for Michigan.
So you're looking for an influx of federal money for that. Everybody's kind of hung up right now on an influx of state money, incentive money. Republicans are all of a sudden now against this kind of stuff, and Democrats are always kind of wishy-washy on it anyway. How are we looking as far as using that money to draw those businesses here?
Well, you know what? The people of Michigan expect us to be able to compete with other states and to beat them. We don't like seeing Ohio or Indiana or any other state, for that matter, win an opportunity that we want in Michigan. And so they expect us to have tools to compete, and that's one of the things that I'll continue to promote and work toward. I think that we've got some opportunities in front of us that are reliant on that, and that's why I need the legislature to, it's none of their jobs are easy, but if they ran because they thought this was an easy job, they're in the wrong profession. We got tough, big things to do, but we can do hard things, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in my speech this afternoon.
You formed a commission here 2 years ago to talk about ways to grow Michigan's population. 2 years on now, how is that translated into policy?
Well, it's interesting. I just saw Hillary Doe walk by, and I hope that you'll invite her on the show if you've not had her enough. But I think that, when we make investments in place, when we make investments in people, when we ensure that you can live your life on your terms freely and with liberty in Michigan, those are things that are going to help us continue to grow our population. There are a lot of great signs in our economy, but it does feel precarious right now with everything going on in D.C., and so we've got to continue to double down on making sure that you can afford to live a great life, whether it's affordable housing or it is making sure that more people have access to transportation. All of these things are a part of the equation.
When it comes to those trips for D.C., you're able to secure the fighter mission at Selfridge Air National Guard Base. You're working with President Donald Trump and going to the White House, having these conversations. Is that awkward and weird as the photos would suggest?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I was there to talk about the ice storm. We had this tremendous ice storm. You can look out the window and see trees broke in the middle, right? As you came up here, I'm sure you saw it as you drove through Grayling and Gaylord. But, we have got important issues to tackle, and I've got to continue to show up and play the hand I'm dealt no matter who is in the White House. I have a duty on behalf of the people of Michigan. And it paid off. We got this massive investment at Selfridge. It's $850 million to our economy every year. It secures our other bases. It protects military families. I mean, there's so much spin-off in our aerospace and defense sector that we're growing in Michigan. And so that was a huge win, getting the Trump administration to fund our project to protect Lake Michigan from invasive species. That's not just about, tourism, although it's helpful for tourism. It's about our fishing industry. It's about agriculture. It's about this water economy that so many people are employed by. So if there's an opportunity to do some good for Michigan, I'm going to show up no matter who is at the other end of the table.
On the flip side of that, Ed Martin, the pardon attorney for the president, says he's looking into pardoning the two men that were convicted of the kidnap plot against you. President Trump mentioned it yesterday and said the men were railroaded. How does that make you feel?
Not happy, I can tell you that much. When the man took a shot at Donald Trump when he was on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania, I was one of the first office holders on either side of the aisle to condemn it. Anything short of condemning political violence does a disservice to every American. And so I feel strongly about this. I would be incredibly disappointed to see if them take that action, and I certainly will be conveying that to the White House.
How do you move on from that? Because this isn't the last time you're going to the White House, and so you're going to have to be dealing with him and putting that eating grin on your face sometimes when you go in there. You have to make him happy in order to get the things you want.
Well, you know what? Too few public servants remember that when they take an oath, it is to serve the people over their own interest. That's what I do. And I'm grateful the people of Michigan seem to see that. When you see, how they react to the work that we've done, it's been very positive. And I'm going to continue to that is my North Star every day till the last minute I'm governor. I'm going to fight for the people of Michigan. And that looks like different things to different people, but I can tell you getting a chip fab or getting Selfridge done, those things make all the grief I take worth it.
You've kept the next steps for your political career kind of close to your chest. You took a little bit of hit for the White House visits. Are you taking more heat from Republicans for making that trip than you are Democrats? Because Democrats have a short memory sometimes when things are starting to get done.
I think if you look at some of the polling that's just come out, it shows the people of Michigan get it. I'm sure I'll always take heat from the far left and the far right, but so long as the majority of people in Michigan know I'm fighting for them, that's all I care about. The pundits in Washington can go pound sand.
One final question. Tourism in the state, is there some concern because Canadians are upset with the United States right now? We're in like a high tourism spot, especially for day trips, people coming over from Sioux, Canada.
Yep.
What's the concern there? What are you hearing from small businesses?
Listen, the chaos on the Trump tariff talk is palpable. You can feel it just talking to people here. You can feel it at home. We can feel it in our tourism. We know that Canadians are our friends, they're our extended relatives in many cases, and many families. If you've been to a hospital in Detroit, odds are you've been taken care of by a Canadian nurse who come across the border every single day. They are our friends. Michigan loves Canada. Our economies are intertwined. I don't know what is going to be the result of this court case that was rendered yesterday in a unanimous opinion that the tariffs were illegal.
Right.
I don't know what the Trump administration is, if they're going to abide by the court, which is a very serious question in our democracy. But I hope that is going to come into effect and we can give people confidence. You can invest, you can come to Michigan, and we're not going to look at you as an enemy. You are our allies and our loved ones and our partners.
That's Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. She spoke with WDET's Russ McNamara at the Mackinac Policy Conference. And now we have Russ McNamara with us. Russ, welcome back to the Metro.
Is that really what my voice sounds like on the radio?
That is what it sounds like on the radio, if you haven't heard it back, Russ.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. So let's talk a little bit about this conversation. You all talked about a few different topics in that back and forth, but the governor is prioritizing semiconductor plants. Tell us a bit about why. Why does she want to bring them back?
This is big business. It's also a legacy for her. This is, if she was able to bring a plant here, it would employ thousands, and she could point to that. It's like, I got that done during my time in Michigan. It's coming at the end because the first term for her is always going to be about the state's response to COVID. If you are on the left or you are a medical professional, you are very happy with the job that Governor Whitmer did. If you're on the right, the vaccine skepticism that we've seen linger since the pandemic is very real, and they're still very upset by the shutdowns. So if she can bring a new plant to Michigan, that would be huge. Getting the new fighter mission at the Selfridge Air National Guard Base in Macomb County, that's also big for her legacy as well. She was working on that with Republicans and State Senator Gary Peters quite a bit.
And how successful do you think she'll be in getting that done, the semiconductors?
They'll need some federal money to do it. And that's why she's going back and forth with to the White House to try to bridge that gap. and try to secure some of that federal funding to help lure them there. I asked about the state funding. Nobody wants to use state money for tax abatements. Nobody wants to give them money to come here. It's going to be tough. She wants shovels in the ground by the time she leaves office. It's going to be tight.
All right, and she's got about 2 years left. What else do you think she cares about she's trying to get done before she leaves office?
She is just trying to make sure that the state is in a good position by the time that she leaves. She's been going after and making sure people are educated, making sure people are getting secondary education, trying to free things up for early childhood education, and make sure by the time that she's done in office, the workforce is more experienced and ready to handle a huge project like a semiconductor or a chip manufacturer, something like that. She wants people educated and ready to go when the jobs start coming here.
Real quick, Rush, do you think she'll endorse anyone for governor?
That will be
One
tight.
answer.
However,
one word.
No, Lieutenant Governor Garlic Gilchrist, they have set him up the entire time at Mackinac Policy Conference. She is low-key. They're putting him in the forefront. It would be very surprising if she didn't endorse Gilchrist.
All right, WDET's All Things Considered host Russ McNamara. Thanks so much, Russ, for joining us, as always.
Love you guys.
All right, that'll do it for us. The Metro is produced by Sam Corey, Kerry Jr. II, that's myself, and Jack Philbrand. Our entire team includes host Tia Graham and Robin Vincent. Our engineers are Matt Trevathan and Nate Bender, and our senior producer is David Lyons. The Metro's production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.